paid me to defend the pick, I can't do it.
But I just don't think they're gonna win. But I just don't think they're gonna win.
If you paid me to defend the pick, I can't do it.
But I just don't think they're gonna win. But I just don't think they're gonna win.
He hit 366. He hit over 500.
If you paid me to defend the pick, I can't do it.
He hit 366. He hit over 500.
The more you analyze it, the more holes you come up with.
But I just don't think they're gonna win. But I just don't think they're gonna win.
You blew up the draft with that pick. Nobody expected that pick. Scared to give the F, huh? Scared to give the F, huh?
You have Nanu, who was the MVP. If your team could just field the ground ball, and throw it in and not give Zach home runs on singles the last week of the season.
Because I have Alan Jamal leading off because we know T.I. loves him. Scared to give the F, huh? Scared to give the F, huh? If you paid me to defend the pick, I can't.
He hit 366. He hit over 500. He hit 366. He hit over 500.
Analyze it. The more holes you come
But I
up.
just don't think they're gonna win. But I just don't think they're gonna win.
If you paid me to defend the pick, if you paid me.
He hit 366. He hit over 500. Over 500. Over 500.
But I just don't think they're gonna win. But I just don't think they're gonna win.
Get yo, give it at Sarah's 10. Get yo, lock my jean at Sarah's 10. Get yo, grilled your chicken at Sarah's 10. Meet yo, neighbors at Sarah's 10. Get yo, give it at Sarah's 10. Get yo, lock my jean at Sarah's 10. Get yo, grilled your chicken at Sarah's 10. Meet yo, neighbors at Sarah's 10.
We are live. Just 36 hours after the draft, and we are already prepared. I'm warning everybody right now, I'm more prepared than I've ever been. It's recording, JT? It's good enough.
What are you looking at?
Good. No, you can't see it. Good. You have to shut your eye. We're in it. No, I can't have any chances. You can't take it.
I'm more prepared than I've ever been because last year this guy blew us away with the stats and everything. I have every stat I need. I have my own thoughts. But first, let's go through the introductions. 3-time MVP, Jack Abadi, back at it. Jack, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back and playing this year. A little bit different talking about the league while playing in the league. It's something like similar that JT usually is used to.
You got to be careful what you say now.
Careful what you say, but you know what? We're trying to take it all about the team on the field, the draft. You know, it's not personal. It's just us breaking down the players. As we see based on last year's stats, really. Everything could be changed, and year to year we see guys go from hitting 300 to 450 in a year. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. A lot of the work that we're doing is based on the past, which has nothing to do with really so much this year. And we'll go from there.
100%. This is just predictions, analysis. It doesn't mean it's what's going to happen on the field. Like JT said years ago, I don't need T-Puppy coming up to me in the middle of nowhere and telling me, why'd you say this, and blah, blah, blah. We're going to bring it straight, and everyone can deal with it as they wish. JT, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Should I look here or here?
You just go. Just do you, and everything's going to work
Focus
out.
on the board.
Okay.
Focus on the board on the
So,
camera.
I mean, listen.
Your camera shy all of a sudden? What's the problem?
It's different. It's different than the podcast. Podcast, it's much different. Video, audio.
Right.
So I got to get used to this.
Right.
But, and I wasn't on the show last year. Jack did a great job last year, so I'm going to try to match him this year. I'll try to keep up.
Okay, so we're going to start right away with the first overall pick in the draft, which was Z. So we're going to go start with him. And this is called The Jungle, this team. I guess he's going for like a very loud vibe, a very boisterous team. And he definitely, at the very least, accomplished that. JT, give me your initial thoughts on this team right off the bat.
My initial thoughts were that, they start, Zach traded up. He made a lot of trades to get Aharon. I thought he could have gotten him anyway, so I didn't like how he did that. I thought he was trading up to get like a pitcher, an Edmund, so I didn't really
I also definitely thought he was trading up to get a pitcher. We all know, though, when you win, you want to bring back the same guys as much as you can. And I think before it started getting away from him with Saban taking some of the guys that were on that team last year, I think he kind of envisioned trying to bring back the core. And so where he was in the draft, I thought when I was doing my mock drafts, it was like 50-50, Aharon or Buka. And I think that for everyone else as a captain, it was like, okay, you get Aharon or Buka, pretty much the same player. But for Z, who played with Aharon last year, he wanted to make sure he got Aharon. So the first trade I kind of understood. The second trade with Dano, I think Dano bluffed him. And he said, why risk it? But I don't think there was really any risk of Dano there taking another outfielder after he already had Farka. It was impossible. And he just, kind of gave up picks. He made up for it a little bit with the Shimmy trade later.
Yeah, Z does that also.
There was word that he was going to play shortstop.
Who?
Farka was going to pick Aharon to play short. So
Okay.
that's where it was. But I don't know if that was true or not.
What we've noticed this year compared to last year is everyone seems to be playing their position this year. There's none of the Jake DeWeck playing shortstop and MC pitching. That seems to have gone by the wayside. But what Z does year and year again is he will overtrade to get his guys.
Yeah.
And it's hard to argue with, even though it's hard to argue with when you look at his success the last 4 or 5 years in the league.
He has. But time didn't go well. We know that, so it's not
Right.
a lock. Also, he traded up, which I didn't like. He traded a lot of picks, which hurt him. And then he overdrafted some guys. So that combination, I think that's what you see here is...
Who do you
Who do you think he overdrafted?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who do you think he overdrafted?
I think Jigga at 33, if you take Jigga and you offer him to be traded to 34, 35, 36, all the way up until 50s, not one captain would agree to that trade. So I think...
I don't think necessarily Jigga offensively, last year I'm starting to put some of the stats down, hitting 435 and slugging 630, not the most egregious overdraft offensively. We all know he's the best defensive catcher. We all know the tag that he made in the end the World Series, probably no other catcher makes. And there's a play each week. I think there's 7 or 8 plays over the course of the season that he makes that other catchers don't make. I think
Correct.
You could look at even the Z home run in Game 2, where the throw gets away from Louis Patesh, and the ball just trickles and no one goes after it, and then Z from second base gets to third and home because no one chases the ball. That's not a play that gets away from Jigga. He either knocks it down, or if it gets by him, he goes and gets it. So I think that, everyone wants Jigga. It's an advantage to have a great catcher. Where everyone values him versus where Z values him, I think it's a little bit higher. He knows the intangibles he brings. He's not going to shut up at first base, being the first base coach. And last year, for the first real year, he was the best offensive catcher. I think 2 years ago, Yogi hit great or whatever. He really hit. And while there's some other questionable picks, I don't know that this is the most questionable.
So
I think there's some other ones.
When Z made that pick, I said, this is ridiculous. 32 now?
Right.
Now 32? We went from 52 to 42 to now 32.
I can't believe
But when I looked at the numbers, and this happened a lot as I prepared for this show, when I looked at the numbers, Jacob's slugging is 630. You cannot argue with that. That's better than a vast majority of the league. In fact, this top 5 lineup, Aharon led the league in hits, tied with Z, who led the league in hits. Eshko, Cheeto, who was 7th in slugging. Look at this slugging, 787. Jack, you need a thicker marker. Go get a thick one. And then Jigga,
narrow.
Jigga, 630 slugging. The top 5 of this lineup is as good as anyone's in the league, even though it doesn't feel like it. I have 3 picks throughout the 8 teams that I can't defend no matter what I do. If you paid me to defend the pick, I can't do it, and Z has one of them. And that's Nate Patesh at third base where he took him. I know Nate Patesh is a great fielding third baseman, but Z took him at 48. 48. This pick, I can argue, could have been around not just the next pick, maybe even 65, maybe even 76 based on his numbers.
Probably 65 because third base was not so deep and people really needed third baseman. So probably in the 60s for sure. So yeah, it's overdrafting him. And I just, whatever, I mean, I don't want to go harp on the whole Jigga thing. I just thought Jigga could have went the next round. That's all.
He's got 4 players that last year offensively were in the top 30 in batting average. 1, 2, 3, 4, and Jigga was 32. So that's really, a nice top of the lineup. I know last year we did a comparison, Loudon versus Elsack. Now both of them took a step back
Yeah.
from the year previously. And, you know, my biggest thing with Loudon was he's a big, strong hitter in the middle of the lineup. He's clutch. He's got a little nasty streak to him. But defensively, I always felt like for a left fielder, he'll catch the balls he gets to. What is he going to get to? Last year in the World Series, he played great, but Nate B was his pitcher. And we know as a left fielder, when Nate B's your pitcher, 6 out of the 10 guys in the lineup are not going to be able to pull the ball with authority. You get to play in, you get to play shallow, you get to come in. Now you have Leo. Leo's a great pitcher, but Leo's a fly ball pitcher. I've played with Leo a lot of times, and my key when playing with Leo is build a strong outfield. I want DK in left. I want Jake DeWeck in center. I want a good right fielder because I know Leo gives up fly balls. He'll keep it in the park, but you got to have the range. So to me, another question mark is who's the fourth outfielder? They have to go for. There's a lot of big hitters in this league.
Yeah.
You're gonna take your first baseman and send him to the outfield.
Yeah,
it's never
because
been
it's
done.
him.
He could be.
Right.
I actually texted
Because
him
he's
before
not a
the
first
draft.
baseman, really.
Right. I texted him before the draft. I said, "Would you play outfield on my team?" He didn't answer.
Same.
He didn't answer.
He didn't answer.
Did not answer. I think he kind of had a feeling.
I knew for sure when he didn't answer me, Eshko would always answer me.
That's funny.
I
He
said,
did
when
not
he
answer.
didn't answer me, I said, wait a second, who is he in cahoots with?
Right.
I went to Abe Haber, I said, no way. This guy, no way. This guy, no way. And then my last one was Z. I said, Z's taking him.
Wow,
I
so
knew
you knew
Z
by
was
his
taking
non-answer that he
Yeah.
was in
I didn't know what it meant. I thought maybe he was not in the league, and I texted the wrong guy on the sheet. You know, I didn't know what was the story.
Listen,
was.
I have no problem. Let's say Bird doesn't work out for whatever reason. You bring Joe Eshko there. He played the All-Star game.
No, he
right
can't even
field.
play. Bird has to work out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking as the fourth outfielder when Hank DeWeck comes up,
Right.
and you got to play 4 no matter what, especially
Yeah.
with Leo on the mound.
I got no
You're gonna
problem
move
with that.
Cheetos to first,
Yeah.
Eshko to second.
Very good with that. By the way, he's an outfielder. He can do anything. This guy.
He's
He can even
old.
pitch.
Yeah, I don't know if he could really play the outfield
A
anymore.
fourth outfielder, but I'm going Joe Eshko.
Yeah,
That's my answer.
I kind of like it. We saw him in the All-Star game. He played outfield. He played great.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the throwing problem to me is an infield problem, not an outfield problem. So I have no worries about that.
I think, by the way,
You know, he
Nate
might be that
Batesh-
best left fielder.
To go back to Nate Batesh,
Yeah.
who again, I love Nate Batesh, nicest guy in the world, loudest guy, perfect for the team name of the jungle. He's going to be going crazy or whatever. Lisa, the whole deal.
It's a good player.
But Z needed an outfielder at that time also. There were serious. You could have gotten DK at this pick.
Right.
You could have gotten Bub at this pick for right or for left. You could have picked which one you wanted.
Unacceptable. Bird could play outfield. He could do it. He could be probably the fourth outfielder. But it's in this draft unacceptable to have this and this as your outfield in this draft. The draft is so
But
deep
guys,
in outfield.
you got to look at
so many
also
guys were falling. How do you not take one of them?
as strong as the top of the lineup is, and I love Aharon. I think he's becoming a superstar. We know Zach is the best player in the league. You know, Eshko last year found his bat again.
Yeah.
You know, took a step up, and I played with him 2 years, and I think his shoulder was hurting him and bothering him, and it was affecting his swing. He hit awesome for Moshiach.
He batted 100 points higher than Elsack. That people were texting me, how do you take
Right.
Eshko over Elsack? And then I looked up the numbers, 100 points higher than Elsack.
Cheetos, Jigga, but what I
This
get
guy's
what-
legit,
what-
brother. 2 years in a row.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, and you know a key guy who can drive in runs in that lineup. But I question this. You got 7, 8, 9, and 10. You know, 8, 9, and 10. If you're 267, 135, 288, it's not going to be able to flip the lineup like they need to. I think Nate, his best year was swimming.
By
He
far.
got hit. He hit 400. I think they would love for him to just get on base. He's small, work walks. To have Aharon not hitting always as a leadoff man. Aharon can hit triples. Aharon can hit doubles.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta flip that lineup with guys on base. And you know, if Leon and Juju aren't gonna be in the field, they have to be in the lineup. You know, so
Juju,
Birdman
yeah.
also isn't the solution offensively.
No.
You know, Leo, I think come playoff time is a better hitter than some of these guys, and maybe he hits in the playoffs. But you got to get to the playoffs.
That's another pick I want to get to. Leo, you got him at 53?
No, I'm saying back to Juju.
Oh.
Look at his 3-year progression in batting average. 533 he batted on time. That terrible purple
Right.
team time. 533 in real at-bats. Down to 375 Los Caballos, where he was more than serviceable. Z will sign to this right now. Z will sign to that. Down to 162, quite possibly
But
the
this one-
worst offensively.
But this one he won the ring and he hit the
162, I think
biggest
it was
shot
his
in the
slugging. I
series.
think it's his slugging, 162.
I think he'll
his
take this.
average was 135.
I think he'll take
Is it
this.
really?
He hit the biggest shot anyone.
2 years in a row. I
And a
think he
walk-off.
had some big hits against Nabi
Yeah.
also. And yeah, he's the reason why Maxi Deed is not 1-1 with a fully healthy hand
Correct.
going into Game 3.
Correct. And he has a walk-off in the regular season and a walk-off in the regular season 2 years in a row, this guy.
You know,
So,
I was looking
he's
for a guy who hit
He's
135.
capable.
For a guy who hit 135, he had 7 RBIs.
Right.
So it's weird because you know MC had 3 RBIs. You know, for a guy who hit 135, he was driving and runs. So there could be productive outs there. He's a lefty hitter. He could be pulling the ball to the right side with a man on
He
third.
can play. He's
You know,
pretty good.
Back to Jigga.
I want to say one thing about Leo.
yeah.
So Leo, there were so many pitchers around in the 50s. I didn't like how he reached for him, and this is where he could have had his another outfielder. He could have had. There were a couple of great outfielders in the 50s that he could have taken.
He could have taken DK at 54 instead of
Joe
Leo.
Chiro
and
went
he
at
gets-
61.
And Joe Chiro,
and
61.
then he can get Leo or one of the pitchers on the next pick. So I didn't
I
like the
think
way he
also, but
constructed his
he's
draft.
saying, you know, you're right because at the end of the day, it's true. But his version of Leo with Jigga on the mound
Right.
is a better Leo than we've been seeing. If you know, a lot of the effect that Jigga has on pitchers, you're gonna see on Leo this year. I don't think he's gonna let him fall 2-0 to the 7-hitter. Jigga's locked in.
No, he's
He's
By
gonna
the way,
keep him
he's
locked
great.
in.
Leo's very
It's hard to argue. Eddie Herrera's best year was with Jigga catching. Navy's best year in 5 years was with Jigga, and Yedidam swimming was with Jigga. That's the only consistent.
That's a great
Right.
stat.
And he
Stat
has,
of the day so
yeah,
far.
and he has 20 hits, Jigga, and I think he was in league leaders of ribbies. He has
I
14
love,
ribbies
I
from
love,
the catcher.
I love
position.
Leo on their team. I love this battery.
But there's something too.
It seemed like no one was picking pitchers.
The last time that I played with Leo, no, 2 times. I played with Leo and Eshko on Cold Blooded.
Yeah.
And when Leo walked one guy, Eshko saying, I want to come in and pitch.
Okay. So
Eshko likes to
that's a
pitch.
great point.
And he wanted to come in that Friday game. We just won a game. He was always hounding Joe Eshko, who was the captain, to come in and pitch. So I know that we have Jigga, and I think that solves Leo. He won't struggle as much. But, you know, we had Eddie Turner catching, and I think that was a problem. But if he's going to be always chirping that he'd rather pitch, you know, that could be a problem. On Cold Blooded, he hit 432. He's a great guy.
The
Great.
best, the best.
He makes plays that guys don't make. He
Yes.
plays on the
He's not gonna
grass.
chirp.
But
He's not gonna
he
he'll
could.
play here some plays.
Yeah.
He'll play
Yeah,
here
he's
some
a
plays. He'll play
veteran.
here
He
some
knows
plays.
the game.
Plays up
He knows a
here.
lot of the players. But I
But-
don't want him, you know.
He will also, if a guy's sliding into second, he'll flop. He'll make it like he missed the ball and try to run it.
Yeah.
And Z doesn't really go for those types of things. Z will get annoyed at Eshko at some point this year. He thinks he's all pumped that he has him. I'm seeing that it's not going to work out perfectly because Z doesn't want another pitcher coming in. He doesn't want the guy faking like he just got tackled on a play at second base. And
I
then-
don't know. I'm just saying the best hitters in this league also, looking at this team, the best hitters rake this way. They rake.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at Joe Eshko at first, Cheetos isn't making plays right or left, and Bird in the outfield, and with Leo on the mound,
Well,
I
guess
think
what?
it's you know,
He's
you'd have to be an idiot to pull the ball against this
No,
team.
but I think Joe Eshko's overqualified at first. Who's
Yeah,
a better
but-
first
but
baseman than him? He
There's
should be
how much
shortstop.
ground do you have to cover when you're playing on the base? You're gonna play off the bag, halfway between, and you know he's got to cover for some of the
Yeah.
lack of speed. Or Juju could really play second,
Yeah.
and maybe has a little bit more range than Cheetos, and use Cheetos as a DH. I think Cheetos is gonna bring the most to this team with his bat anyway.
But he's a lefty. You never want a lefty second baseman.
Right. But
Listen.
you know Juber does it.
These two are as strong as it gets. Eshko's going to play here. Cheetos, you're going to throw back here, so he has a nice little easy throw. Just knock it down. And I think Eshko's going to be really good at first. He's overqualified at first.
He's good.
I am in the minority. I don't think Bird's going to have an issue. I've seen him play right field.
He'll play.
In minor time, like for Mo
Right.
Money, he played a little
He could-
right.
he could-
Right?
Guys
Yeah, he
driving
can play.
in runs,
He
driving
can play
in
a little
runs. Zach 16
16
RBIs,
RBIs.
Eshko 10,
10 RBIs,
Cheetos 16 RBIs, Jigga 14.
14. That's phenomenal.
You know, these guys drive in runs. I think it's a different team than we're used to seeing Zach have, where it's Z, strong defense, and
And
win
no
5-2.
Right.
I think he's going to have to say, with this top of the lineup, we're gonna have to win 7-4. We're gonna have to win 8-6. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to win a little bit of a high-scoring game, and it's an uncomfortable spot for a Z who hasn't had to play that type of ball in the years that he's won.
Yes.
You know, he's played that way on butter and on time when they had a big lineups, but they didn't make the playoffs.
He drafted this team as if Yedid or Nadir are on the mound. He's gonna see the difference, but this team, when I broke it down, is better than I thought it was when I left the draft. That night I left the draft, I went over to Z, who I love and I talk to every day. I go, dude, you're off the wall. You're nuts. This team has no chance to be better than 3-11. I think they're better than that. I think they're at least a 500 team, believe it or not, and I did not feel like that 36 hours ago.
When I look at a team, I look at, you know, lineup construction, team chemistry, and filling all the spots.
Chemistry is a
Chemistry,
A++.
I think, is the A+. I'm not sold with this.
Okay.
And I don't think that, you know, last year I wasn't sold with Z's team. He made a trade that helped him. I don't know the trade that he can make because, you know, he took guys like this for a reason. You know, you're not willing to give up these type of guys. So who are you gonna get?
There's no trade he could make. He could have drafted a right fielder.
Right.
He could have had DK and put Louder
I
right,
think
or he could have had
it's
both.
surprising because he tried this last year with Jacob Cohen,
It's
and,
really-
and then before the first game, he made the trade to
Yes.
get an outfielder. You know, I also have seen Cheetos play the outfield.
Yeah.
And then maybe you do something at second, you know, but then you have Loudon and Cheetos. You know,
Problem with Cheetos is he's a lebcha, cannot move.
no, the
Yeah,
solution
bad
is here,
knees.
guys. The solution is here. I don't
He
even
can't play
know
outfield
if he's
anymore.
playing first base. Could he be playing first base? Because on this team, when there's a hole in the outfield, he's an outfielder.
Okay, so
he's a center
throw him in the
fielder.
outfield.
He
He's
might
going-
be the outfield.
he's
No,
going
he
to
might
the
not
outfield.
be in the field.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
might
he
be
can
in
play
the
second,
outfield.
can he?
He
Can
comes
play
up to second and
Yeah,
Cheetos
yeah.
plays first.
There you
I
go.
like Cheetos as a first baseman.
Yeah, Cheeto can't play the outfield. He
No, I think
he
Joe
played it
Eshko
once-
and
he played it
Wright-
once against you guys, and Jimmy smoked the
Yeah.
gapper and he pulled
No,
the hammer.
yeah. I think-
Cheetos can't play the
I
outfield,
think
but Eshko can.
Eshko and Wright,
Eshko-
Bird at
Eshko will be
second.
the outfielder.
You know, Bird and Leon splitting a game at second.
Right.
And you move Cheetos to first. He's a big target. You know, he'll chat up the runners when they're on first base. I think
Okay.
that's probably their best
Your
defense.
grade. Your grade. C+. You. Here comes the F early. What?
Listen, this team, it's a nice team.
Yeah.
It's a nice team, but you have to realize something. You have to you can't compare this team to other YMSL teams in the past. You have to compare them to the teams that are this year,
Very deeply.
which are very strong.
Right.
So this team may be acceptable last
2
year,
years ago.
2 years ago, 3 years ago. Not this
In
year.
the 90s, this team might have won it.
In the
Nope.
90s, they would win it.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Right,
You have to listen
I'm
to
gonna
all RB and Sammy Towell telling us how they won the batting titles.
Right.
These teams worse than this.
A D. Minus.
D minus.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
D minus.
Wow.
I think that's, okay.
I think it's a
Not
weak
gonna
team. I
argue.
have them missing the playoffs for sure. I have them winning less than 4 games. They'll split a couple weeks, and they'll get swept. I think most of the other weeks. I don't see this team making the playoffs.
Okay, so.
But they will be in every game. It's not going to be blowout. They'll be in the games. They have a good defense. They'll be in the games, but they're just not going to win them.
You know
What
what?
do you think their worst quality is, Jake? 'Cause I look at
Don't
their lineup.
screen record.
I
that.
look
Don't
at
screen record.
I look at their lineup, and I don't hate their lineup. I don't like their bottom of the lineup.
I don't hate
But,
their D
but
either.
I think it's just the combination. You know, Leo on the mound, plus some holes on D, plus some holes in the bottom of the lineup. But what do you think is your biggest negative? You give him a D minus. That means you hate the team. What aspect of it is the worst part for you?
It's just that it's not as good as the other teams. It's not as good. It's
So
not
you're
as strong.
grading
It's not
it
as
compared to the other teams.
deep.
Okay.
Okay.
I am gonna go better than both of you guys. I'm going B minus because a few things. He's not relying on any night league guys, not relying on any rookies, nothing. So full YMSL roster. Eshko wasn't here last year, but big deal. He's been around forever. And Z understands the league as good as us, if not better than us. He knows what he needs to win. This is his vision. I love the left side defense here. I mean, Nate Batesh, as bad of a pick as that was, only because he could have gotten him 10 picks later. But
Here's my
He's
theory.
still a good third
Norm, I
baseman.
have a theory.
I like the D. I like Leo. Love Jig. I think he's okay. Question, whatever. But I think this is a B minus.
I think I have a theory on what I think Z did here. Z won last year. He's very happy. Of course, he wants to win every year, but he's very happy. He won.
He won
He
after
did
his
it.
friends.
I think he went after his friends. I think he has less pressure now. He's just like, all right, I won. Let's have some fun this year.
We saw similar
and I think
after
also
he won with swimming, and then he picked time.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
then you get hungry again, and
You
you
get
go
really
away
hungry,
from it.
for sure.
And also,
It happens.
it's not that he went in doing that. I just think the way he was slotted, number one, and then he went up and got Aharon, and then the way he saw everything unfold.
He panicked when he usually doesn't. He panicked with trades.
I think
No one was taking Aharon. No one was taking Eshko there. He panicked and kept moving up. His biggest regret is going to be Nate Batesh over DK or Bub.
You know, we
fixes
were
his whole team.
we say
One little-
or Joe Chira. Or Joe Chira.
we had no outfielders
Yeah.
at 48, and we were saying like, we like 3 of these 12 guys. How do we get them? And then we're like, this team needs an outfielder. This team needs an outfielder. And we're like, Jungle needs an outfielder. They pick right before us at 50.
Right.
You know, Bub for right field. We
They
thought
take-
and they took Nathan Batesh.
and then they took Leo.
You know.
Obviously,
I also
they
think
didn't do it.
Bub would have batted here for them and moved everything down.
Yeah.
And it solves a position. And you
Obviously,
can go get
he's going to say there's no other third baseman after Nate Batesh, so I had to take him, and I value third
Yeah.
base more than
no,
outfield.
no, third base for
That's what
sure.
he's going to say, and he has Joe Eshko just in case. Okay, let's wrap up this one because we're
Okay.
getting long.
Very good.
Next team coming up.
Get yo, kibbe at Sarah's 10. Get yo, lock my jean at Sarah's 10. Get yo, crunch your chicken at Sarah's 10. Meet yo, neighbors at Sarah's 10. Get yo, kibbe at Sarah's 10. Get yo, lock my jean at Sarah's 10. Get yo, crunch your chicken at Sarah's 10. Meet yo, neighbors at